Olivia Otieno, and now I am joined by two phenomenal women. Because what they do is not merely an occupation. You see me, I leave my house, I go to work, I do a job. What they do can only be described as a calling. Penelope Wanjiku from the Child Welfare Society of Kenya and Wamaitha Mwangi, founder of the Angel Center for Abandoned Children. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
So I just want to find out something, right? The Child Welfare Society of Kenya. How come I'd never heard of it?
Thank you, Olivia. Child Welfare Society of Kenya has existed since 1955.
Yes.
We are making efforts and we are doing activities to make the organization more known.
Yes.
But we have been undertaking children matters for a very long time. Mm-hmm. We engage in different programs, which include making sure that children are well protected and cared for.
Yes.
Children who are in need of care and protection.
Yes.
These are children who are abandoned, who are lost, who are given up for adoption, who have issues of child abuse reported to us.
Yes.
And what we do when we get them, we place them in our places of safety. Mm-hmm. And when they are there, we look for alternative ways in which they can go back to the community.
Yes.
This we do through different programs, like we have rescue and reintegration.
Yes.
So under the reintegration part, once we find their families, we'll put them back and maybe support those families.
Yes.
Based on what they will be needing.
Yes.
Then we also have other programs like adoption, we have foster care, and we have guardianship.
Yes.
So these children exit through such ways.
I did not know that adoption falls under the Child Welfare Society of Kenya. I didn't know that. I thought it was another government body altogether.
A Child Welfare Society of Kenya undertakes adoptions, but we do have other private agencies as well that are licensed or registered by the government that also undertake adoption.
Okay.
So it is more centralized from the private side. It's the government that gives them licenses. But for child welfare, we are a national adoption agency.
Yes.
And we've been undertaking adoption for some time now.
Now, moving from Penelope to Wamaitha, I was amazed when I first heard you speak during one of the Rotary meetings for the Club of Langata. And I had no idea that it took so much to run a home. And it was such, like I said, it is a calling. So give me a little bit of the background in establishing the Angel Care Center, the Angel Center for Abandoned Children.
Okay, thanks, Olivia. Angel Center for Abandoned Children was started in 2010.
Yes.
And so you needed how we did it officially or like...
No, just your journey. Because, you know, Wamaitha, when I heard you speak, it's not something, it's like going into a cloistered sisterhood. You know, it's one of those things like, you're doing what? You're not going to talk? You're just going to be living in a place and you're not going to leave? How do you go from studying psychology in Australia or child psychology in Australia to having a home for abandoned children more or less in a village?
Well, yeah, I usually tell people it's a calling.
Yes.
I was in Australia and I remember very much that my spirit rejecting Australia. Mm-hmm. Like something just kept telling me, go back home, go back home. Since I was a child, I always loved children and I knew I was going to work. I knew I'd never seen myself in an office.
Yes.
I knew I was going to work with children. So when I went to Australia, there were so many opportunities. I used to take care of a disabled boy, you know, and I used to get paid well and everything. But my spirit just kept telling me, go home.
Yes.
So I remember I spoke with my sister and then I called my dad and I'm like, when I spoke with my sister, she was like, you know, are you sure this is what you want to do? And I'm like, I can't explain it, but I don't want to be here.
Okay.
And so I called my dad and he's like, I told him, Dad, I need a ticket. I want to come back home.
Yes.
He didn't even ask any questions. The following week I had a ticket. I moved back.
Yes.
So now when I came back home, you know, I was still young. I was 27.
Wow.
No, actually I was 26 when I moved back.
Okay.
And so I didn't know what brought me home. Like I knew I have a passion. I didn't know, but I knew I was going to start an NGO. And at that time I used to club a lot.
Mumbi?
So I used to club a lot. Mm-hmm. So you know, and you'd go out and, you know, your friends would be like, you know, I just got a promotion. I'm a manager. You know, another friend just got a BMW. That BMW will always be in my mind. Because I was like,
the car. You're like, what?
I was like, how you going to... You know. So anyway, so I was like, then that actually gave me the push because, I just don't want to be that chick that people are calling to go out with. And then when it's time to exchange war stories, you're just like, yeah. So I was like, so I started actually lying to people. I'm like, yeah, I've registered an NGO, so guys are like, really? So then at some point I was like, you know what?
You have to come
why
clean.
Not? Yeah, like, why? No, I was not going to come clean because that's what I wanted to do. I just hadn't done it.
Yes.
So I just went and I said, you know what, I'm just going to register it. If I'm told no, now I'll change my story. Oh, the NGO Board of Kenya, how they do.
Yes.
Can I tell you, I went and doors were just opening.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I want to do it, but this is happening too fast.
Yes.
Things were opening. And then that's when now it just started growing. The passion started growing. And I'm like, actually, why shouldn't I do this? This is what I've always wanted to do.
Excellent.
And so that's how it started.
So between you thinking I'm registering this NGO and you taking care of the first abandoned child, what was the timeline like?
I'd say about 9 months.
9 months.
Yeah, like a baby, actually. Yeah, it was about 9 months.
Financial investment. Let's be honest. It takes money to do this. Even charity work takes money. So what did you have to put in with regards to seed money, and where did that money come from?
As I told you, I used to take care of an abandoned baby. I'm so used to saying that.
Yes.
I used to take care of a disabled boy in Australia.
Yes.
And they used to pay me very well.
Yes.
So I had saved a lot of money.
Yes.
I'd saved some money when I came back. So
Yes.
that's what I started the center with.
Yes.
And also my family. My family really supported me. Like, I'd be like, this is what we need. Like, I give them my budget. My dad would write me checks. My dad wrote me checks till I think the center was about 3 years old.
Yes.
He was just, whatever we needed, because I ran out, my cash ran out
Yes.
and everything. So that's how initially it started. Then at some point, there was no money.
And we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And I'm also glad you never used the savings from Australia to buy a BMW, but that's another story altogether. Penelope, I'll be asking you about the recent child abductions. I really want to know, is this a new phenomenon, or has this been happening, or has it just gotten worse? We need to know about that. Hello, Tieno, this is 00 Direct, and it is a Zoom watch event. Viewing, not SA. All right. So get on to standardmedia.co.ke for the link and the info. Matthew, I see you. Welcome. Thank you for joining via Zoom. And I'm still with Wamaida and Penelope. We are discussing the adoption process and this recent spate of abductions. Tell me, Penelope, are child abductions in Kenya on the rise, or is it just me?
We can say, because lately we've been receiving many cases of children who are either missing or abducted or lost.
Yes.
So the trend indeed is becoming quite noticeable lately.
Or is it that more children are going missing, or more people are just now reporting it?
It could be a situation of both scenarios.
Yes.
That more children are going missing, and there's also more increased reporting of such kind of cases. But we need to be aware as a society, as parents, as families, what is it that we need to do so that these children are protected in our families.
Yes.
Some of the things, if we read through the newspaper, there are some pointers that had been given to parents.
Yes.
It's important for parents to be telling their children not to talk to strangers. And we need to define who a stranger is to a child.
Yes.
A stranger is not just somebody whom the child doesn't know. It's a person who you as a parent, if you feel you can't trust that person.
Alone with your child.
Yes, then this child should be made aware not to either spend time with them or just avoid a lot of interactions. Because in the recent past, we've had the same people who know our children are the same ones who are involved when they get missing or when they go lost.
I heard a case of a former nanny or domestic worker who came back to her former employer and abducted the child, and the child was very comfortable because the child had become very close to that person.
Yes, because they had developed that trust relationship.
Yes.
So it just calls for parents and for guardians to be more vigilant when their children are out there.
Okay.
It's also important to have recent photographs of children.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whether this parent has most recent gadgets like phones, but make sure we have recent photographs, because when we are reporting a child as missing, we need to have information on how they looked like at that current particular time.
Yes.
Because if you're reporting a missing child who is 5 years old, then the most recent photo you have of the child is when he or she was 2.
Okay.
Then it's very difficult for anybody to assist when it comes to tracing.
True.
It's also important to take cognizance of like their dressing and other information that could be useful. The other trend is also, which is coming out, is the fact that it's important to report immediately these incidents happen.
Yes.
Other than waiting, and by the time any intervention is coming about, it will be too late. In some cases, we find a child was abducted in Nairobi and they are found in, say, Busia,
Yes.
which is many kilometers away from
True.
now, from here. But if the case had been reported sooner,
Yes.
then maybe along the way something would have been done.
And now, speaking of reporting, there's a number in today's Saturday Standard, actually in the Eve magazine. If you turn to page 8, you'll see call emergency. 0800 223344. It's a toll-free number, so it means it's a free number. And I'm just wondering, is this Child Welfare Society of Kenya number?
No, at the moment, Child Welfare, we do not yet have a toll-free number.
Yes.
But there's an organization that deals with cases of missing children.
Yes.
That should be their number.
Legitimate
But,
organization?
Yes, but I wouldn't speak too much about it.
Okay.
Because I would think it should be on the private side.
Okay.
What I can confidently say is
Yes.
that from the government side,
Yes.
there's a 116 number that goes directly to the Children's Department office.
Okay.
So then they collect all those cases and they report.
So should you dial this number? Should you dial the 116 or should you call the police?
All of them,
All of
if
the above.
possible.
Everybody.
Yes,
Just
take
let everyone
interventions.
know.
Yes, take interventions as far as you can go, because the life of a child really matters. And if you don't intervene immediately, a lot happen. Even that child can be trafficked out of the country.
Yes.
And tracing that child will be very, very difficult. And not forget the emotional impact that this will have, not just on the parent, but even on the siblings of the child.
Exactly.
Yes, so it's a big deal.
So, Wamaida, you run the Angel Center for Abandoned Children. Have you ever dealt with an abduction case? Have you ever found that one of the children that you found somewhere was actually abandoned, was abducted and then abandoned?
No, actually, we've never dealt with any abandoned cases.
Abduction cases?
Abduction cases, sorry, yes.
Okay. And for you, when you find a child, where do you find these children, first and foremost?
Okay, we work with the children office
Yes.
as well as the police.
Yes.
So when there are many scenarios, let's say when a good Samaritan picks up a child, and when a good Samaritan picks up a child
Yes.
and abandons the baby or
Yes.
goes to the police,
Yes.
the police call us. Or
Okay.
when a mother gives birth in hospital and absconds,
Yes.
so we are the guys they call. Or even sometimes we are called directly by the good Samaritans that, there's a baby that has been found in a sewage here,
Yes.
so and so.
Yes.
But before we even pick the baby, we have to report it to the police.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you get the person who reports it to also make a statement to the police, or they're left?
That's the police work. Now
Okay.
when now the police hands over to us, they'll hand it over with the OB number as
Yes.
well as a letter. So we don't deal directly with the individual.
So
that
once you
has
found
rescued.
and rescued this abandoned child, what are the next steps?
The first step is hospital.
Okay.
We have to take the child to go see a doctor because sometimes, we have to test if the child is positive, so that if the child is positive, we put them on the ARVs immediately. 'Cause
We're talking about HIV positive.
HIV positive,
Okay.
correct. Because you see, with children, once the children have the ARVs,
Yes.
even by 8 months, they
Yes.
are cleared. Because
Okay.
sometimes they just carry the antibodies, not the virus.
True.
So there are other children, sometimes by the time we've collected them, they've already been exposed to the elements.
Yes.
Maybe a baby was abandoned at 4 a.m. and we have been notified at 11 a.m. So by the time we get that baby, like one time we got a baby who had been bitten by safari ants all over.
Yes.
He had all these wound marks.
Yes.
Sometimes the children have pneumonia.
Yes.
So we do have the first step whenever we take a baby, we have to take them after the police.
Yes.
We have to take them to the hospital.
And are there specific hospitals you go to, or the nearest one?
The nearest one, but
Okay.
usually there's a specific hospital we go
Okay.
to in Kawangware,
Yes.
just to have a constant doctor.
Yes, yes.
But, if we pick up a baby in Roiro,
Yes.
we'll just go to Roiro Hospital. Like, we don't have to bring them, like we need them to get immediate attention because,
yes.
They might be something that has happened, maybe a broken arm
Yes.
or something.
So you've gotten the call from a good Samaritan. You've notified the police. You've taken the child to see a medical professional or to a hospital. What next?
Then, the police is the same. We also have to go and see a children officer.
Yes.
So we'll also get a letter from the children officer stating that they have temporarily placed the child at Angel Center. then the children officer is going to arrange for a court date
Yes.
with the magistrate
Yes.
for what is known as a committal.
Yes.
So magistrates differ. There are some who will commit the child for 6 months, some will commit for a year, some for 3 years, some for life.
Yes.
So once we go into court, usually happens maybe a week
Yes.
after.
Yes.
So once we go into court and we get the committal for the child, so we'll stay with the child for the 6 months, we'll raise the baby.
Yes.
Then after 6 months, we go back to the court to
Yes.
get now the second committal.
Okay.
Now, when we get the second committal, we have to go back to the police station
Yes.
to get a second letter. Now, the police will state that no one has come to claim the child.
Yes.
They have looked for the family or the child. They've done the investigation.
Yes.
Nothing has
Come to
so
pass?
has come to pass. So they declare that the child is free.
Okay.
So then that's when now the children welfare come in. Now with all the documents we
Yes.
have of the children,
Yes.
the 2 police letters, the 2 committals,
Yes.
and the children officer's letter.
Yes.
We hand them over and they are eligible for adoption.
I saw on your website, the Child Welfare Society of Kenya website, you have a missing children database.
Yes.
Tell me about that database.
What we do, it's in addition to what Omaida is saying,
Yes.
we exhaust the tracing efforts of the child's family.
Okay.
Because once a child goes into adoption,
Yes.
adoption is a permanent form of alternative family care.
Yes.
That child cannot be withdrawn because
Yes.
there will be an adoption order that guarantees permanency in that family. So before we look into that option, we have to make sure that we have exhausted every other option before we place the child permanently.
Yes.
So we do media tracing.
Yes.
We place children or information of the children
Yes.
in the local dailies.
Yes.
This helps in the sense that maybe the police were not able to find who the parents were, but maybe in the community there's somebody who knows who that child is. So they will come forward and say, I know this child, or this is my family. So what we'll do investigations further. And in some cases, we even do DNA testing
Yes.
to make sure that this is the parent, and then the child will be reintegrated as opposed to going for adoption. But if we do this media tracing adverts, maybe for like 3 or more times,
Yes.
then we do not have anybody coming forward, then it acts as a supportive document that we have exhausted the tracing efforts of the child's family. Then we proceed with the adoption process.
Hey, how are you doing? You're listening to Spice FM. This is 00 Direct. I'm Olivia Otieno, and I'll be telling you about how you can get yourself some tax exemptions. Yeah? KRA, they're not the people you think they are. There are some good seeds right there, and they're giving you an opportunity to come clean, right? To claim and to explain exactly what your situation is. There's a chance for understanding. Yeah, we need to work together in order to build and develop this country. So that's coming up after I wrap up with 2 amazing women. I've had Penelope from the Child Welfare Society of Kenya and Wamaida, who is the founder of the Angel Center for Abandoned Children. We are on the adoption process. Our heart is breaking for those abducted children, for those missing children. Please go to the Child Welfare Society of Kenya website. Just Google Child Welfare Society of Kenya utaipata. Ama, you want to give me the URL, Penelope?
That will be good enough.
I love it. So where are we now on the adoption process? What needs to be done?
So we are at the bonding process,
Yes.
whereby now we've got information from, like in Wamaida's case,
Yes.
their home, that the parent is okay with the child.
Yes.
So we'll do placement.
Okay.
They will fill forms and they'll take the child with them.
Yes.
So during this time, they usually have a window period of around 3 months,
Yes.
granted as per how the rules are.
Yes.
So during this time, we will see how the child is doing with the parent.
Okay.
If the child is still not okay with the family, or the family is not okay with the child,
Yes.
then in some unfortunate cases, the children are withdrawn so that we look for appropriate parents.
Yes.
But if the bonding process is successful, because there's a lot of monitoring in between,
Yes.
then the parents are advised to start the legal adoption process
Okay.
so that they can have the details or the documentations of the child changed into their names now. Such that if a child's name was James, then the parents want to call him Moses, for instance, then they can get that legal provision done for them.
Okay.
So there are 2 ways in which a parent can go through this. They can choose to have an advocate of their choice, in which case they will settle in terms of costs. But there are some parents who are not able to afford the legal fee, which we train them for undertaking self-representation.
Yes.
We liaise with a few advocates who would facilitate that process, and
Yes.
even we as child welfare train the parents.
Yes.
Then they do their paperwork, or they file their paperwork at the High Court.
Okay.
not just any court, it has to be at the High Court of Kenya,
Yes.
whereby now we have the first hearing day, which is the presentation of the cases that are presented and the appointment of a person called guardian ad litem.
Yes.
The guardian ad litem's role is mainly to just look at how the adoption process is going and advise properly in the interest of the child.
So
and then
who would
file
that
a
be?
report.
Someone from your office?
No, it's usually an independent person.
Okay.
The law at the moment should be able to have like a pool
Okay.
of professionals who can be selected,
Okay.
but I think that is work in progress.
All right.
But as it is right now, applicants choose a person who's not a relative,
Okay.
but is well known to them,
Like your referee in your
like a
CV?
referee, yes,
Okay.
almost, to be to provide a report on how the child is.
Okay.
So this person is appointed. Then as a hearing date is set for the second time. In this second time, there will be that report of that guardian ad litem. And there's also required a report from the children's department
Okay.
on how the child is, as well as the report now concerning the child, that the child is free for adoption from the adoption society.
Yes.
Then the judge will read or look at what is presented,
Yes.
and on the third day give a ruling or
Okay.
like a hearing date
All right.
for the judgment of the case. And that is the point at which the adoption process will be completed. And the parents will be given an adoption order, which now they can use to process an adoption certificate. And these days also the law allows for the provision of birth certificates.
Yes.
Then the child is now, the process is complete and the child is now adopted. Now, after that particular point, we will require these documents so that we give to the adoption society, and we also provide to the children's home where the child came from,
Yes.
so that the records of the child are in place.
I really like that, Penelope. And something you said triggered something in my head. Wamaida, do you have potential adoptive parents asking about the background of the child with regards to tribe? Does that ever come up?
Yes, it does. And you see, unfortunately for us, unless a baby is abandoned in hospital,
Yes.
we usually don't know.
Okay.
You know, if the child is Kikuyu,
Yes.
Luo, anything, we
Yes.
don't know. So, yeah, they usually ask that. But you see, because the babies we get are abandoned,
Yes.
so sometimes we have minimal to zero information.
On their background. So you've gone through the whole hospital and, onboarding this child. How much does that cost you? Be honest, roughly.
A month to
Yes.
run the center a month?
Yes.
Per month is
Yes.
about 500,000.
500,000 shillings.
For us to comfortably run. And, that's utility bills, that's rent, that's, salaries,
Yes.
food,
Yes.
hospital, medical care, and all of that.
How many children do you currently have at the center?
I currently house 62,
And you've been running for how long?
11 years. We
So-
turned 11 on Thursday.
Oh, happy 11th anniversary.
Girl.
Yeah. So over the last 11 years, how many children have come through the doors of the Angel Center for Abandoned Children?
Altogether, I'd say about 210 probably. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And those children, they've been adopted. What's happened?
Some have been adopted.
Yes.
We've placed about 36 into homes through adoption.
Yes.
We've reunited about 27. I don't know the exact numbers
Yes.
at this point. It's a
Yes.
blur.
Yes.
But we've reunited some children
Yes.
with their families.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we've buried 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then I currently have 62. So then there's also been temporary children. The
Yes.
children officers will place a child for a day,
Yes.
and then or for 2 days, and then
Yes.
they come and take for court. Whenever there is a court battle
Yes. Yes.
between the two parents, they
Yes.
place the child at the center. So we've also had the temporary placings as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
What are your greatest challenges in running the Angel Center?
Our greatest challenge, of course, is financial.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing every children home needs, and people don't like talking about money.
Yes.
But
yes.
you need money to feed children. You need
Yes.
money. Although we have a lot of people who are supporting us. In terms of we have well wishers. There are people who are constant every month. They come through to
Yes.
help us. We have Kathy Fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy Fresh, they give us us and another. They provide vegetables for supermarkets.
Yes.
So the ones that are not up to par
Yes.
is what they donate to us. They're still
Wonky
healthy.
veg. I'm a huge fan of wonky veg. I'm a
Wonky
vegetarian.
veg,
So for
correct.
me,
Yeah.
as long as it came from the earth, I might eat it.
Exactly. So
And it doesn't have eyes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
every other week
Yes.
we go about 4 times a week. We go there, and then we also have Art Cafe.
Yes.
Art Cafe have been giving us vegetables for the past probably 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They had some really bad press like a year ago. They should just drop
even
that on
during,
us.
Even during those, I was
Yeah.
actually asking Sagi, he's the owner.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
why don't you? He's like, we are not donating for the public. this is just, he completely did not
He's
even
a quiet
want-
guy. He's
a
a
very
good guy.
quiet guy.
He's a good
yeah.
guy. We're running out of time, unfortunately. So I just need to know from the two of you, how can people get in touch? Wamaida.
Okay. On Facebook, we are Angel Center for Abandoned Children.
Yes.
On Instagram, we are at Angel Center KE.
Yes.
Our website is angelcenter.org.
Yes.
And then we are in Waithaka behind Dagoretti High School.
Yes.
That's off Kikuyu Road. And if you want to reach us on phone, 0712 218121.
Once again,
0712 218121.
Penelope, you said they should just Google Child Welfare Society of Kenya, right?
Yeah, but in addition to that, we have branches throughout the country.
Excellent.
So they can visit us along Langata Road.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ladies. Have yourself a most amazing weekend.
Thank
Keep
you.
doing what you do. May you be blessed.